Yo, fam, what's good with you? Look, fam, look, this is just a quick public service announcement from your boy. Look, fam, check out the 2A NLA official merchandise store. We got some of the hottest gear out there, whether it's your Right to Bear Arms cap or your 2A NLA Love Guns cap or that Love Guns tumbler. That's no joke. And for you more sophisticated folks, you know you got that Love Guns wine chiller. All right. If you look down in the description of the video, you'll see the link to the official 2A NLA store. 100% of the proceeds from the store go directly back into the channel to bring you better content. All right. Thanks. Let's get this video rolling. YouTube family, what's good with you? It's your boy 2A in LA, and as always, fam, anything I say in this episode, prior episodes, and future episodes is just my personal opinion. You shouldn't take it as fact. You shouldn't take it as law. Always do your own homework and come up with your own conclusions. Right about now, fam, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and tap that like button for your boy. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell. I think you are going to enjoy the content. If you don't, fam, look, you can always unsubscribe later. And if you are an existing supporter, fam, I appreciate you more than you can possibly imagine. Okay, so fam, you guys saw the thumbnail. This is not clickbait. It's not cap. It's none of that. This is a real world situation. And this happened a few weeks ago, you know, kind of right before the Christmas holiday. And I took some time because I think sometimes you gain perspective when things are a little bit in your rear view mirror. So I didn't come out right away and do a video about this, but I felt like a video was necessary. I think there are a lot of people who walk around on a daily basis kind of oblivious to the dangers that surround them. And certainly you can't be prepared for every single eventuality, right? But there are things that we can do to make ourselves more prepared. I don't think most of the people that watch my channel are guilty of that. Most of the people that watch my channel are very 2A oriented. Most of them, if they're allowed to within their states, have concealed carry permits or pursuing them, certainly. And so I don't think a lot of you guys are probably guilty of that, but because I'm not. But this story is an example of the thing you don't see coming, the thing you're not prepared for. I think a lot of us, when we think about our Second Amendment rights and needing, you know, firearms for self-defense purposes, I think a lot of us have ideas about where and when something like that may take place. You know, whether it's an active shooter incident, whether it's a home invasion, whether it's some kind of carjacking. Those are probably the likely things that come to mind. But in this particular instance, it is the thing you don't see coming. And it was a real reminder to me that you have to stay vigilant. You know, you can't relax your guard, because probably the time you relax your guard is the time that problems are going to come. I'm sure for those who have concealed carry permits, there's always that time when you're about to walk out of the house and you forget to get your concealed carry, and you're like, oh, I don't want to run back in the house, or I don't want to run upstairs or whatever. That'll be the time that you really need it. And so I want this to be, the story I'm about to tell, to be a kind of cautionary tale that you never ever know what your circumstances are going to be, and to always kind of be on the lookout for potential problems. And so, like I said, this happened a few weeks back. I'll go ahead and jump into it. This happened a few weeks back. I was sitting in my home office doing some work. And I have a Rottweiler who, is in my backyard. And I hear her barking. Now, she's not a small dog. So when she barks, and when she barks with intention, it, gets my eyebrows raised. Like, what's going on, right? So I heard her bark that way. And then seconds later, I heard other dogs barking who make my, 70-pound Rottweiler's make her sound like she's a Chihuahua or something. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And it's coming from my gate area. So I go and look out the window where I have a vantage point to my fence, to the fence that separates my backyard from my front yard, and where my dog is sectioned off at. And I see two huge bull mastiff dogs, one male, one female. The male had to be 150 pounds plus. Huge. And the female was smaller, but still probably 100 pounds plus. Now, they were trying to get to my dog, but they couldn't because I have a big wrought iron gate up. And I tried to shoo them away. And these dogs were so vicious that they tried to get at me through the window. And, fortunately they couldn't, or whatever. I lowered the window down and finally got them to go. And something told me, this is a bad situation. Go check out in the front of the house, right? So I go out to look out the front door, and no sooner than I get to the front door, I see my 83-year-old neighbor walking out on the front lawn. And no sooner than he's walking on his grass, I look up and see the dogs racing towards him. Now, he had no means to retreat at this point. He wasn't mobile enough to run back up the stairs into the house. That wasn't an option. They were on him, coming too fast. He didn't see them till later, and till they were practically up on him. He tried to back away, and he lost his footing and fell. And when he lost his footing and fell, those dogs attacked him in the most vicious attack that I've ever seen. And believe me, you guys, in my years, I've seen a few things. They immediately began biting his hands and his arms. So, I go into, protection mode. First thing I do as I run to grab my gun is to call 911. Because I know he's going to need ambulance care. So I grab my gun, simultaneously I'm calling 911. I run out to the front of the house, and then it hits me at this point. Now, at this point, they've probably been attacking him for a good 2 minutes. Maybe a little less than that. Maybe a minute and a half to 2 minutes. I pull my gun, and then I realize something. I can't shoot. These two powerful beasts are yanking him around the front yard like he's a rag doll. And so I think a lot of us train static shooting at the range, because that's all they allow you to do. If you do have an outdoor range that allows you to have an individual bay, I think a lot of times we practice shooting on the move. But it's very different. I akin this to like a hostage situation, where you've got somebody who is standing behind a hostage, and you can't risk the shot for fear you're going to hit the hostage. And it was very much that way. I did not feel comfortable. Suddenly, all the things that we talk about in our training came into my head. Number one, if I discharge a firearm, that's another. Now all of a sudden, there's legal ramifications for that. If I happen to miss the dog and hit him, there's ramifications for that. If I miss him and the dogs and hit somebody's property or the bullet trap, then that's all the things we talk. All these things are swimming through my head at 1,000,000 miles an hour in seconds while I try to put a shot on target. And then I realize I can't do it. And so 911 is still, holding, and I'm telling them to get here, get here. I suddenly remember I have a pellet gun. Now, a pellet gun in and of itself is not going to stop these dogs. Way too big. Way too big. But I'm hoping it will distract them. I'm hoping it will startle them. I'm hoping it will get them off of him. So I run back, grab my pellet rifle, run and bring it back. Unfortunately, my pellet rifle only holds, I think, 15, 20 rounds, something like that. And so I start taking shots at the larger of the two dogs, although the smaller dog was more vicious. But I chose the larger dog because I had a better shot at him. He was closer to me. And I hit him a few times. Again, they bounced off of him, but enough to make him stop, enough to make him disengage, enough to make him back away. I couldn't really get a shot on target on the other dog because my neighbor was in between him and it was between me and the dog. And so and then I ran out of pellets. And so once I ran out of pellets, the other dog ran back and started attacking him again. Now, I don't know how long this video is going, but just know that however long it's been going, this attack was longer. So now I grab the phone once again and I scream at 911, "Where are you guys? Why aren't you here?" They told me they were on their way. By now, from the dogs, the sound of the attack, my neighbors screaming, me shooting the pellet gun, other neighbors are starting to emerge. One of my neighbors gets in an SUV and drives up onto the lawn, but she has the same issue that I have. She can't hit the dog for fear of hitting him. And that did not deter them. Another neighbor tried to shoot the hose at them, really putting his own life in great danger at that point. And that maybe startled them a little bit, but not enough. Fortunately, right as that happened, a fire truck rolls up, paramedics roll up, police unit rolls up, and they're deep, like 8 to 10 deep. And really what got the attack to stop was the fact it was the noise of the sirens and the lights and everything that startled the dogs and made them kind of back away and then take off running. At that point, the paramedics gave immediate aid to my neighbor and rushed him off to the hospital. He was very, very badly injured. He's really lucky to be alive at this point. He's had to have numerous surgeries with skin grafts to try to put himself back together again. It's not out of the woods yet because they're fighting to save one of his hands. Very fortunate that it doesn't look like they caught a major artery, because given the length of the attack, he very well could have bled out. He's got a long road to recovery. And at the end of this video, I'll put up a local news story. ABC and a few other stations did a story on him and the attack, and I'll put that up at the end so you guys can check it out. But I never saw this coming. I can't tell you. And this is an ongoing criminal investigation, because these dogs were vicious and they're owned by someone who lives in close proximity to us. So there's a criminal matter that's pending here. Obviously, undoubtedly, at some point, there's likely going to be a civil component to this as well. When the police came to me and asked, to take my statement, I was happy to give it, obviously. But I went to my ring. I have a ring on my home, cameras on the front of my house that capture a portion of his yard. And it was arguably the most, I don't even know how to explain it. So there's a timeline. At one point, when he first comes up on my camera, I see him out there mowing his lawn. And, this is part of his exercise. This is how he stays fit. He looks great for an 83-year-old man. You would never know. And so I see him out there mowing his lawn. And then shortly after that, I see him out there trimming his hedges. And then shortly after that, I see him out there watering his grass. And then shortly after that, I go outside and grab something out of my car in the driveway and come back in the house. 5 minutes after that, 5-10 minutes after that, I see the dogs run up the driveway. And that's where I first realized they were there. And then a few minutes after that, I see the dogs running across my grass. I didn't pick up any of the attack itself on my ring. But I do see myself running back and forth, first with my gun, then with the pellet gun to try to help, to come to my neighbor's aid. And it was, like I said, without a doubt, the most difficult thing I've ever had to witness. And I just felt so helpless in that moment. And it made me think, how many times do I just walk out to the car, grab something, I'm only going to be out there a second without any protection, and you try to have situational awareness, yes, but situational awareness for two vicious dogs running up the street, how do you do that, right? How many times I'll walk around, take a walk in the neighborhood, or whatever the case may be, or take a jog, and I just think my takeaway was, you always, when you least think about an attack, that's when attack will likely happen. My neighbor has lived in his home for 60 plus years, and he's probably mowed his lawn and did what he did, his Saturday morning routine, probably thousands and thousands and thousands of times without any incident. And had the attack taken place 30 minutes earlier, maybe he had a better chance, because it has lawnmower in his hand to maybe shield him. He would have had his clippers, his hedge trimmers in his hand to maybe shield him, right? Or even his water hose. They just happened to come when he had nothing, when he had no defense. And isn't that when it always happens? And to be in a situation where I actually had a firearm and still could not stop the attack, that made me feel helpless, certainly. Yeah, fam. So I guess I would say, the real takeaway from this is, be vigilant. Always be on your guard. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't think that, I'm just gonna do this, or I'm just gonna do that, or I can let my guard down for it. I'm not saying you should walk around in fear. I'm not saying you should let fear paralyze you and affect your ability to conduct your business and your life. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, just when you think it won't happen, that's when it will. And so be on guard for those moments. Because I promise you, you don't want what comes with the regret of not being vigilant. And so that's kind of the story, y'all. I'll put up the news story right now about my neighbor who survived the attack. What a brave man he is. What an inspiration he is. He's a grandfather. I've known him most of my life. I've ate food in his home as a kid, and so yeah, this was a tough one for me, y'all. But hopefully, with God on his side, he'll pull through this intact. But he's got a long, painful road ahead of him. So I ask all of you to keep him in your prayers. All right, peace.
From an elderly South LA man who was severely injured in a vicious dog attack. Jim Lindsay was mauled in his own front yard. He barely survived and has already undergone several surgeries. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter has his story along with what's next for the dogs.
Writhing in pain, 83-year-old Jimmy Lindsay is lucky to be alive after being mauled by his neighbor's two massive dogs who attacked him outside his South LA home.
They both pounded on me, and they started to chewing on me from both ends. And one had my leg pulling me, the other one had my hands.
He is a true miracle that he is still with us.
The 83-year-old grandfather has been hospitalized since the December 16th attack. He has undergone half a dozen surgeries to repair the extensive damage to his legs and arms. Doctors say he could lose his right hand.
They drug me back and forth across the lawn like a rag doll. I thought my life was over. Yes, I did.
Jimmy says he lost consciousness, a neighbor finally freeing him from the dogs which ran off as he fights to recover from his horrific physical and emotional injuries. His family says the two mixed breed dogs remain at their neighbor's home.
That the owner would say, no, you're not taking my dog, and you get a court order. That to me, it says evil to me.
Jimmy's daughter says animal control told them there will be a hearing about the dog's future. In the meantime, the 83-year-old is terrified about what could happen if they run free once again.
That they are killers. They are horrendous type of animals. I would want no one, but no one, to go through the pains that I'm going through day after day.
Jimmy faces at least half a dozen more surgeries as doctors try to save his hand. A GoFundMe has been set up to help him in his long road to recovery. You can find that on our website, abc7.com.